Hello and welcome back. So I'm going to keep this update relatively short, guys, because I felt it would probably be better if you actually heard it from the horse's mouth. So just when I thought there was some level of optimism in the last few days, for example, I got paid on the 11th. And it was probably for the very first time this year, I actually got paid something close to an actual wage. Because in the month leading up to this, I was absolutely at the end of my money. There's no other way of putting about it. I wish there was a better way of saying it, but there isn't, sadly. And then the next day, which was a Friday, I got a blow. It turns out that they're not going to keep me on a permanent contract. They said, and I knew, to be fair, I knew because they told me themselves like 2 or 3 times that the terms was there was going to be a temporary 8-week contract, and yeah, that's just how it was. This was, as you might imagine, this was a blow, and almost immediately, because I didn't even think about trying to enjoy just a little bit of what I got, because almost immediately it went into expenses. And you know what, that's just life. That's the thing about it. I'm not complaining about it. It's just, you know, when you worked hard for something and you feel like you have been put through the ringer, and you still feel like at the end of the day you are treated like absolute crap. Yeah, that's that. And even if it's not, you know, even if it was warranted, yeah, it's not a nice feeling, because every part of your body, you just want to be able to say, no, I'm not a pile of crap. No, of course that's not right. Anyway, so I am immediately starting job hunting again. Now, good news is, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is apparently a job going in a slightly different job, but the important thing is that it's with the same company I'm working for. Maybe there is a way that we can some way negotiate or some way work out a terms in which, because to be fair, I'm on good terms with the people I'm working with. Yeah, so as hard as it is, there may be, because basically I've got to do this until my final day, which will be on the 8th of October. The reason why it's an 8th and the reason why it's on a Tuesday is because I'm entitled to about 3 days worth of holiday, so I'm giving myself a short week. The problem is that no matter when I was going to take it, I now have to face an all-important a critical moment, is that I have got to either get myself in, look for work in between this, so in the next 3 weeks. But there is also a job going on the 13th of October, the one I've been anticipating for. The trouble is that even getting this to this stage, I feel like I've had to go through a lot of hoops and a lot of unnecessary backpedaling, and I think the whole process, and it's been a continuous thing throughout this year. I don't consider it to be very fair, or even the attitude of how things are done has left me feeling, well, what exactly would have been if I was still in, because the whole point of how this entire sorry saga started in the first place is because I couldn't stay where I was. And then following quite a massive breakdown I had, which, you know, somebody once asked me like one question about it, and they asked us whether or not I was okay now. And yeah, at the time, yes, but I think even they've sort of caught on to the idea that it's not nearly as simple as that. Even trying to mention it right now is, you know, it's you can see that it hurts, because it's a humiliating prospect, and it's a humiliating situation to be put in. That's what upsets me more about anything else about this situation, is that it feels that they have all the power to do it, and they can, and they don't even try to pretend that, you know, there's anything they can do. Their decision is made up, and whatever they say or do now, without my knowledge or concern, well, to be honest, my concern is not really their concern at the moment. It's kind of unnecessary when you think about it. So yeah, not exactly a great weekend, all things considered. And as to like trying to make videos, it's a little bit hard to try and focus on making videos because, quite frankly, my priorities right now have to be a little bit somewhere else. If I had literally as much as like 4 days to, you know, have this entire situation, you know, sorted, and I could get myself sorted out, then I would get straight back to making, you know, videos and stuff like that. Honestly, that's what I want to do, because it takes away from the pressure a little bit about what sort of situation I'm in and stuff like that. So from now on in, like, but here's the thing. This situation is tough, and I'm going to change the tone just very, very slightly. This is a tough situation. It's not great. There are very few positives to be built off this, apart from one thing. As I've said previously, and you've probably heard me say this previously as well, well, you know what? If I literally just roll over and play dead and just sort of accepted things, it would seem as though I've literally just taken all of this crap that's happened this year absolutely for nothing. What matters now going forward is we actually do. This is an opportunity for a test of character, in my opinion. And that means for the next at least week, because I want to try this out for a week to see if it works. I am, as you may say, being put on the wall. Now, what is being put on the wall, you may ask? Here's how it's going to work. Some of you may know that my job involves me basically being on my feet 8 hours a day. It is a lot of running around to and fro, and basically keeping myself busy, but most of the time it's just doing stupid little menial tasks. So it's not exactly groundbreaking, but it's just a job at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to get at. So what's going to happen is that I start work at 8 in the morning and I finish at 4:45 in the afternoon. By the time I get home, which is about like 20 past or 25 past 4, I'm going to literally dump my stuff here, change my clothes, and then get out to the gym. By the time I get to the gym, it'll be about 4:45, and I'm going to stay there until 6 o'clock. Now, within that hour and 15 minutes, I will need to have burned exactly 600 calories. Let me just reiterate this just one further, guys. I already worn out. Already, the heels of the soles of my feet are already on fire, and new skin is burning at the seams, trying to repair itself. I have to get back to the gym anyway, and then have to lose another 600 calories. Basically, already tired, already worn out, but I've got to put myself through it. That's quite frankly the only way forward, because currently that's what this situation is right now. Because all right now, this is just a mental pressure test. What I'm going to be doing as well is a physical pressure test. Because you may have also heard me say throughout this year that some people would say, you know what, they would give the idea of, you know, pull your finger out, suck it up, be a man, get on with it. Otherwise, just go somewhere else. What I say, however, is quite different. What I say is to stop and give up. Don't fight it, accept it, especially if you don't want to change. And when the change comes in, be prepared to work bloody hard. And that's exactly what it is. And you know what? When I went to church for the only time of this year I actually went to church was at the beginning of the year. And the priest said that at some point during this year, we are all going to face a tremendous challenge. And you know what? Maybe this whole thing, maybe this isn't even the challenge. Maybe there's a bigger one in what time we have left of this year, because we're already nearly halfway through September. And I feel as if, you know what, there is a much more pressing obstacle incoming. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it can mean. But you know what? If I can get through this, if I can pull this off, if I can actually do something, you know, I would suggest for the first time this year, we could at the very least get this right, if nothing else. So that's what it's going to be. The only option right now is to go right back to basics, to go right back to, in similar situations, through the means of post-cognition and neurological genesis and stuff like that. The only thing to do now is to press on. Hope, and that's just what it's going to be until I'm beyond this this difficult period. I wish it didn't have to be this way. I wish things were better. I wish, to be honest, there were things that maybe if I didn't have that breakdown at the beginning of the year, like literally on New Year's Day, things might have been different. And yet, for whatever reason, even now, I'm actually going to be saying to myself something honestly, I don't think anybody's ever told me before this year, but one thing I'm going to be telling myself now. What happened was beyond my control, and I shouldn't be made to feel that I've completely ruined my life because things were becoming too hard to handle. What's happened has happened. I think I've dealt with it actually quite well, because I could have just rolled over and just played dead and pretend I didn't care. I could have done those things, but guess what? No, actually, you know what? I didn't, because I think somebody said it before, I don't give myself enough credit, because actually, you know what? As hard as it may seem, I think there's something harder coming. I think there's a much more difficult and pressing subject just on the horizon. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. But you know what? If you think this is tough, then I've got to be ready for what's coming, because quite frankly, this is already quite tough. But you know what? I've come through worse, and I got through it. So with that being said, thank all of you guys for understanding, and hopefully I'll inform you about when we can actually resume production, and I will see all of you guys again next time. Thank you.